Those of you that have followed this channel long enough know that I love to talk about some very particular topics, some a lot more niche than others, and some topics I talk about that others don't talk about or others just miss in generally. And one of those that I love to talk about is the steel industry, especially here in the UK. It is a massive employer. It is one of the very few heavy industries we have left here in the UK, and it has basically been left to languish on the vine by not only this particular Conservative government, but especially the past Conservative government as well. Indeed, New Labour obviously was indeed the last one, with Gordon Brown just giving them a bit of, shall we say, tertiary funding to mainly help cover bits and pieces, costs, maybe some new investment. But other than that, this British steel industry really hasn't had a lot of love for quite some time. In fact, one policy, and I always push this policy whenever we talk about British steel, is British steel needs to go carbon neutral. That is what it needs to do. It is basically creating a green steel industry. And it can only do that if it has the government funding. The steel industry by itself does not have the financial capacity to be able to do that. And currently the only country that is doing this is Sweden. They are putting a lot of money into doing this, but again, this takes a lot of time. This process is going to take something, I think, in between the regions, from what I at least remember from the experts we've covered on this, about 20 to 25 years. But it will be worth it in the long run. Not only will it guarantee the jobs, mainly in South Wales and here in the north of England. Again, why the government aren't pursuing this as part of the levelling up agenda is beyond me, but there you go. Not only will it do that, but it will also expand these sites and create greener, more sustainable, long-term jobs in these communities. So it is something that, again, we need and should absolutely be pushed as a policy in the Labour Party. And we have seen that. Ed Miliband has brought this up a couple of times when he's been speaking at the last Labour conference. So, you know, I am very hopeful that this will indeed be a future Labour policy going forward. But the UK steel industry has currently bigger problems than, shall we say, thinking about its future, mainly the fact that it is going to now be uncompetitive to its biggest partner, because of obviously the US steel tariffs that applied to Europe that we were in have been dropped on Europe, but have now been kept on us because, again, we are no longer part of the European Union. And they are keeping this on us because of the problems going around the current Northern Ireland disagreement. So, again, the steel industry is going to have certainly a very few hard years to come indeed. So let's go diving into this story. But before we do that, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel, as well as the YouTube memberships that are also down below as well. So let's go. I was going to say, let's go steal this up. Never mind. Let's have a look at this. So this comes from The Guardian. The title of UK Steel Industry Braces for Slump in Trade as the US Reduces Tariffs on the EU. The UK steel industry is braced for an immediate slump in trade from New Year's Day, when the European Union rivals will gain a 25% price advantage selling to the giant US market. The EU and the US reached a Halloween agreement to remove these tariffs on the quota of steel and aluminium imported from the bloc into the US from the 1st of January. But tariffs will remain on the UK, all steel and aluminium exports, after the governments failed to try and secure a matching breakthrough. The International Trade Secretary Anne-Marie Trevelyan earlier this month did invite the US Commerce Secretary for further discussions in London, which are understood to be scheduled for January. However, an industry source said that they were not optimistic that a deal would be reached quickly. The tariffs were, of course, first introduced by the former President Donald Trump back in 2018 under Section 232 of the Article Trade Expansion Act on national security grounds. Imports supposedly undermined the US abilities to be able to produce its own steel. British exports to the EU could also be hit because of the unusual strict clause in the US-EU agreement That means steel originating in the UK will still attract the same amount of tariffs, even if worked on and exported by EU companies. Grace Stanth, the Director General of UK Steel, said that UK steel exports to the US have halved since President Trump introduced steel tariffs back in 2018. These can be in no doubt that these measures have significantly harmed the UK's interests in its second biggest steel export market. Whilst we welcome the move by the US of easing these tariffs without a UK deal in very quick succession, our export position will only deteriorate further. It is essential that the government sustains every sinew to try and secure a deal to ensure that the UK steelmakers are able to sell their own products and steel into the United States. Harish Patel, the National Officer for Steel at Unite, said the trade union representing many of the British steelworkers said the government now needs to explain why the EU had a deal but the UK did not, amid reports that the US was indeed holding back over the UK's threat to unilaterally change the post-Brexit trading rules governing Northern Ireland. The UK Brexit negotiating position, the so-called Northern Ireland Protocol Treaty, barely just a year old at this point as part of the Brexit trade deal with the EU, but it has repeatedly said that many unilaterally will just break it off. And President Joe Biden has warned Boris Johnson against threatening the peace on the island of Ireland. Junior International Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt said this month denied that the failure to reach the steel deal was linked to Brexit. She told Parliament, the story might be true in terms of how some people in the United States feel, but this is a false narrative. These are two entirely separate issues. I don't think they are. Patel said, it is alarming that British-produced steel is being effectively locked out of the critical steel market, and continuing tariffs make EU steel considerably cheaper. The government has to sort out this matter quickly. Unless the tariffs are speedily lifted, hundreds of jobs in the steel and associated industries, most of them in the so-called red wall seats, are at risk. The government spokesperson said, we recognise the vital role the steel sector plays in our economy and prioritise to try and resolve disputes to the benefit of the workers and business on both sides of the Atlantic, removing the need for the UK to levy the retaliatory tariffs on US goods. Until a resolution is obviously agreed, the UK will continue to apply its rebalancing measures to defend our economic interests on the rules-based international trading system. Needless to say, this isn't going to go down well. This isn't going to go well at all. They can try and deny it all they want, that this isn't linked to Brexit, but this is absolutely linked to Brexit. There is no reason to suggest that this is not, because currently there is no evidence to say that this isn't, because we've got the government say so. And, well, we've seen the government say so on this in the past, but hey, there you go. So this will indeed cause a lot of problems, I think, starting next year, and I doubt we will see a resolution to this, to be honest. But this will potentially cause hundreds, hopefully not thousands, of job losses. Which will indeed be very much hit the red wall seats, which again, Boris Johnson and co profaned that they had love for these red wall seats. They would not be abandoned. And yet, here we are. So much more they could be doing during this time. But, you know, can't have any, shall we say, good ideas in the Tory party at the moment because, well, there's no one to bring in any good ideas at all. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And, of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.